Welcome into a brand new Sports Hub or Patriots Hub podcast from the Sports Hub. Alex, Barth, Matt Dolloff, 98.5 The Sports Hub, 98.5thesportshub.com. It's only been, 4 months since we actually got a name? I should have it down by now.
Yeah, no, seriously. I had to go change some YouTube descriptions the other day. I was like, did we go back in time?
It is the Sports Hub's Patriots podcast, but it is the Patriots Hub podcast coming to you here on February 5th at about noon. The big news of the day for the Patriots that we'll start off with, Matt, because now, every one of these shows we came in, it was so focused and so exact, and you had this stuff with the draft. We get to kick back and enjoy a little bit today. Julian Edelman into the Patriots Hall of Fame is our first real show of the post-draft offseason.
Finally, a non-serious Patriots story.
A non-serious. Well, this is going to get people riled up because
funny. The less serious the topic, the more angry people get.
And there were three deserving candidates. Julian Edelman gets in on the fan vote over Adam Vinatieri and Logan Mankins. Let me start here. Julian Edelman deserves to be in the Patriots Hall of Fame. He deserves to be first ballot. There are two people on the ballot who deserve to be in first ballot, which makes this tricky. But Julian Edelman, all-time great Patriot, top 5 in just about every major receiving category for the team in franchise history. Some of the biggest plays and the biggest moments, and I'm happy to see him get it. We can get into the Adam Vinatieri of it all, but a guy that certainly embodies the organization, and it's good to see him in, and I'm looking forward to seeing him get inducted.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with him. I'm okay with him getting in before Vinatieri is what I should say.
Okay.
Because he was a Patriot his whole career. You just touched on it. Patriot through and through. And I'm sure recency bias plays into it a little bit. You know, Adam Vinatieri had his biggest moments of his career as a Patriot. It's a long time ago at this point, Barth. And did he play more with the Colts than he did with the Patriots? I think he did.
Yes, I believe it's by 14 years to 10.
Yeah. So I'm not saying Adam Vinatieri is more a Colt than a Patriot, but it just goes back a long way. His time with the Patriots, Julian Edelman, you probably got a little bit of a recency bias there, but it's not like he's undeserving. Showed up in all the biggest moments, but he was a Patriot his whole career. I think he had the one free agency where he went and explored free agency, thought he might leave. Thankfully, he stayed.
Almost went to the Giants, right? Isn't that the story?
I think he visited with the Giants, maybe the Eagles, something like that. And he almost left, but thankfully he stayed. Won those 3 Super Bowls with Tom Brady at the end. Absolutely critical piece. So obviously deserves to be in. And I think it's proof that, this thing isn't secretly rigged. Like the fan vote is legit. I've seen conspiracy theories that it's like the fan vote is just a dog and pony show. But I think that this is proof that the fans are voting on this thing because of the recency of Julian Edelman and the fact that he is truly a Patriot. There's nothing else that you can attach him to like you can with Vinatieri. Doesn't mean Vinatieri shouldn't get in. He should probably be next in line, if not getting in today. But I'm okay with Julian Edelman getting in before.
The next one's going to be an interesting test because I think what you're seeing here is it's online, generally younger people online, right? The voting's online. It's younger people online. And so they remember Julian Edelman. They remember watching Julian Edelman and they have good memories associated with him. Not that we don't, like not that all of us don't, but at the same time, Adam Vinatieri was a great, great player for this team. But you may think if you weren't alive for the first 3 Super Bowls, he's a kicker. He hit the field goals, but Tom Brady got him in position. You may not have understood what it meant in those moments in the snowball and things like that. So next up, who's eligible next year? We'll see if he gets on. I believe Rob Gronkowski's eligible next year. So it'll be interesting to see if that same thing happens. Now, he didn't finish his career as a Patriot. He didn't play more years in Tampa than he did in New England, like Vinatieri did with the Colts. But that will be an interesting test. Are the kids just putting their favorite players in, or is there more to it? I want to see Vinatieri get in, but I have no problem. Julian Edelman embodies first ballot Patriots Hall of Famer, not just because he was a good player, but the moments, man. He was a guy that always came up big in the biggest moments. I'll have something out later today. I'm going to just kind of run through the biggest moments of his career in New England, but your top Julian Edelman moment.
I go to the Super Bowl against the Seahawks when the Patriots had a 3rd and 14. And if they didn't convert that play, they might not even score again.
This is the one where he gets cracked by Cam Chancellor, right?
He gets absolutely cracked by Cam Chancellor, gets back up, runs for the first down, extra yardage. I mean, the fact that he even held on to the ball there, the concussion spotter probably missed something there. I don't know if they even had the spotter back then. But thankfully, he got to stay on the field there and kept playing. He scored the go-ahead touchdown later in the game. That, to me, is you could almost boil it down to the one play that decided the future of the franchise versus, where it could have gone if they lost that Super Bowl. Obviously, Malcolm Butler is the obvious choice for the singular play in that game. But if they don't convert that 3rd and 14, Barth, how does that game turn out? Do they even have a chance at the end?
It's very different. It's very different. So that's up there for me. I also, and this is personal attachment because it's probably my favorite non-Super Bowl ever, the double pass to Amendola. And
that was fun.
As much as people love that play because it's a fun play, the guy was a college quarterback for, he'd been here for 5 years at that point, and people are like, when are they going to let him throw one? When is Josh McDaniels going to let him throw one? And they break it out at the right time. As much as people have fun with that play because it's a fun play, that was a major, major turning point in what was a back and forth game. They trailed by 14 twice, come back against the Ravens to win it, obviously to get to Super Bowl 49.
Arguably the greatest non-Super Bowl game in Patriots history.
It's definitely the greatest game in Gillette Stadium. I always say that's the greatest. And I have had people who, season tickets, they've been going to games for 20, 30, 40 years, say that is, well, I guess more than 40, but however long that stadium is, right? That is as loud and as energetic as they've ever heard that stadium. It was a party there at Gillette Stadium that night when Josie gets going in the fourth quarter and the Ravens are going for it on that last drive before Deron Harmon closes it. But that's up there for me for the best moment. We have to mention, if I can count an entire game as a moment, because he didn't really have the one big play, but I mean, the guy was a Super Bowl MVP. In Super Bowl 53, 10 catches, 141 yards. Now, the Patriots only put up 13 points, obviously, and they didn't really get it to the end zone until late. But this kind of speaks to the kind of big game player Julian Edelman was. We're sitting here talking about the best moments, and we were talking about it for about 5 minutes before we even got to his Super Bowl MVP.
Right.
Like, just came up big time and time again for this team. 3rd and Edelman, the 2 conversions against Kansas City in AFC Championship in 2018 is up there as well. Now, we have not mentioned the fingertip catch from the 28-3 game. It's the game-tying drive there, little over 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. The ball's tipped. Robbie Ashford, I believe, is the one who gets a finger on it. Alford was in there, who was the one who tipped it or was in there, whatever. I got to look. But Edelman, by the fingertips, makes the catch. Another great one. But you, I understand, maybe don't think so.
I think, this could be one of my more controversial takes. I just think that catch is a little overrated. And I'm not saying it wasn't a great catch. It was obviously an unbelievable individual play. But it was 1st and 10 on that play, right? It was at best 2nd and 10.
I believe it was first down.
It was first down. And I mean, yes, it was critical that he prevented the interception on that play. There was the tip. But it's not like he had to have that play. Like if that ball touched the ground and it was incomplete, they lived to see another day. And the way Tom Brady was so locked in at that point in the game, I think they end up converting and getting down the field anyway. I just don't think that was a gotta have it type play. And I feel like it's going down as his most famous play, but I feel like the plays we mentioned before are more critical, greater plays. I just think that was a great individual catch. But I just think a little overrated in terms of how people view it in the context of that game and the legacy of the team.
Level of difficulty, you have to say it's his best play. Because the catch in a bubble, that catch could have happened in October. That's an unbelievable catch.
You talk about highlight reel quality, that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm not taking away from the actual play. I'm talking about the context, the magnitude of it. I feel like that is a little bit overrated.
So,
but, I'm not going to push back on it too much.
So here's where I'll push back on that a little bit. And I get what you're saying. It's first down. They still have room to go. But football does not happen. The plays don't exist in a bubble, right? It's sequential. So that's the game-tying drive. Do you remember how much time was on the clock when they scored the game-tying touchdown?
Not much, I imagine.
I think it was like 32, 33 seconds. So if they don't get that on first down, now that's another play or 2 they have to run. And, if you're calling things different, maybe McDaniels is calling different plays situationally, things like that. Maybe the run stops being a factor. Now the defense can play you differently. Did they necessarily have to have that play in that situation? No, because they did have more downs. But it's even as locked in as Brady is, it's not a guarantee it continues to play out like that, because 2nd and 10 isn't going to go the same way as the first down did after he caught that. Right. It's going to change it. So, and to stop the interception, like I get why people say like the moment it's the Seattle one, right, is a 3rd down. The catch is in Kansas City, 3rd down.
That's sort of my point. Right. I feel like if he doesn't get that 3rd and 14, that's pretty much, they're pretty much screwed.
But again, you're not the only one I've heard downplay that catch. I've heard other people do it. I just think the way football is sequential,
Yeah.
you really don't know what happens if he doesn't hold on to that ball.
No. That's totally fair analysis. I just lean to the side of that Brady was going to do it. I don't care if he had 10 seconds, 5 seconds. They were going to figure that out. It was just fate the way that game sort of turned out. But yeah, no, it definitely would have made the rest of the drive a lot more difficult if he didn't pull in that catch. I'll give you that.
So now the question becomes with Edelman. Now the conversation goes to Canton. And I think he still has, so he retired in 21, 22, 23, 24. He still has a few years before he'll be eligible for the gold jacket. So we don't need to we'll start the conversation now, but it won't be relevant for a little bit. Does Julian Edelman belong in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? And this is an argument that gets had, I think, with the Baseball Hall of Fame a lot. How much weight do you put on the postseason? Because if a guy's a great regular season performer, doesn't have any postseason success, Calvin Johnson, right? Calvin Johnson's obviously a Hall of Famer, first ballot. He is the list of wide receivers better than him all time is not long. It might be two guys. It really might be two guys, Jerry Rice and Randy Moss, but doesn't have the postseason performance. So if you're going to put Edelman in for just postseason performance, what does it mean by that? Because his numbers, well, impressive. I think it's like 620 catcher, 6,200 yards, something like that. He's in the 600 catch club. Obviously played, 11 years. It's a decent, that's a long career. That's good longevity. But are you going to put him in with a guy like Calvin Johnson who has much better numbers just off the postseason thing? So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Now, there's also an argument with this. Wes Welker is eligible, and Wes Welker has not gotten close. Wes Welker, statistically, is a better version of the player that Julian Edelman was. So we know that the Patriots have used the Patriots Hall of Fame to help prop players up for Canton. They did it with Ty Law. They did it with Richard Seymour. It's going to happen with Adam Vinatieri unless he just gets in first like he should. Is Julian Edelman, in your mind, a Pro Football Hall of Famer?
He is, in my view. And yeah, you have to sort of figure out how to weigh everything together between your actual physical talent, where Calvin Johnson is, a 10 out of 10 in that in that department. But then you got to weigh together the accomplishments. What do you accomplish? And I mean, do you hold it against Calvin Johnson that he didn't play in the playoffs that much? It's hard to look at a guy that played for the Detroit Lions and didn't always have great quarterbacks throwing on the ball and fault him for not playing in the playoffs, where Julian Edelman was on the greatest team of the first 25 years of this century. And he had Tom Brady throwing in the ball. And yes, people can, use that to sort of dispute Edelman's or downplay his playoff accomplishments. The thing about Edelman, Barth, is that he did it so many times. He did it every single year. Every time he was out there with an opportunity to come up with a big play, at least since he, elevated to that top security blanket role for Tom Brady, he kept doing it over and over and over again. If he just had the one Super Bowl, the one great postseason run, that would be a little different. I think you could probably, downplay the postseason part.
He's one of the greatest postseason performers in the history of the sport.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think you sort of have to weigh that a little more. And I know it's hard because you can't be you might have to be exact where you have to give a certain amount of weight to a certain amount of things. But it's all subjective, right? When you vote on the Hall of Fame. And so Julian Edelman to me is a great example of a guy where, all right, he wasn't the most physically talented receiver. He was a converted quarterback, took several years to really reach his full form as a receiver because he was a quarterback coming out of college and had to sort of learn the position on the fly in the NFL. And so, his stats don't really measure up in the regular season anyway. His physical talent wasn't that of a Calvin Johnson or a Julio Jones or those guys. But you put extra weight into how he showed up in those big games. And I thought the Super Bowl MVP that year was sort of a cherry on top for him. And so I feel like you kind of have to put him in. I feel like most Super Bowl MVPs should have a good chance to actually get in the Hall of Fame. I know that doesn't mean Desmond Howard is a Pro Football Hall of Famer. But if it's a guy who consistently showed up like Julian Edelman did, and he's way up there in terms of playoff stats and all that, and he was such a critical part of the last half of that Patriots dynasty, I think Julian Edelman deserves to get in.
It's funny you mentioned the consistency of it, because when you talk about Wes Welker with this, what do a lot of people bring up? The drop against the Giants.
Yep.
Edelman didn't necessarily have that moment. We actually have people kind of firing in the chat here. That's a good point by Jay. If it is true, if Stanley Morgan's not in, it is kind of tough to put Julian Edelman in. Stanley Morgan, I think, is I think it's minimum 500 catches. So not for more, but there's a non-insignificant catch minimum where he is the most yards per catch in NFL history. So, and he's Patriots all-time leading receiver for what that's worth. So, look, do I think there's a case for Julian Edelman to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Yes. Do I think he's going to get in? If we can't get Rodney Harrison in, and we can't get Adam Vinatieri in, and it took Richard Seymour how many years? And it took Ty Law how many years?
It's an uphill battle.
I'm not holding my breath. I think there's an argument to be made for it. I think that postseason success should hold weight, especially the way Julian Edelman did it. I do. But he's not more deserving than Harrison. And let's not say he's not deserving. He's not more deserving than Harrison. He's not more deserving than Vinatieri. There's guys on other teams as well. Like,
yeah, no, he's got to get in line. I wouldn't say he's the next on the list. Next on the list, I guess who's next on the list? Harrison should be
from the Patriots.
Yeah, Harrison.
I actually think, and
Wilfork, Vinatieri.
If you Wilfork's another one. If you follow
Gronkowski.
me, well, he'll be getting first ballot. I'm not worried about him.
Okay.
If you follow me, you know how much I pound the table for Rodney Harrison. That's kind of been my things I got hired here.
Yeah,
I think Vinatieri's a bigger snub. Like objectively, Adam Vinatieri is the greatest kicker in the history of the sport. He's the all-time leading scorer in the history of the sport. He has hit the most important, most difficult kicks in the history of the sport. The fact that that guy not only didn't get in, and we're going to go on a tangent here, but this pisses me off. Not only did Adam Vinatieri not get in, the voters left spots left spots open. So the way it works, it's whatever it is, up to 6, up to 8.
Yeah, they
don't have to fill every spot. They could have put him in. They chose nobody. They said that not putting somebody in was more fitting than putting Adam Vinatieri in, which is absolute and complete nonsense. So as much as Rodney Harrison should be in 30-30 club, first person to ever do it, only matched by Ray Lewis since, who is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And if we're going to talk character clause, by the way, Rodney Harrison obviously should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But Adam Vinatieri, the all-time leading scorer in the history of the sport, getting passed over by nobody is atrocious and is borderline disqualifying to that organization.
Tell him, Hawk. It's a bad precedent to set, I think. Because
horrible.
What kicker is ever going to get in on his first ballot?
What more could he do? None should. If this is the standard, none should. Period.
I mean, Justin Tucker might have been until like Vinatieri not getting in on his first ballot. Like you're never going to put a kicker.
Ray Lewis got in first ballot when he had that. He's the only 30-30 guy with Harrison. So.
Is the white suit in the Hall of Fame?
30-30, by the way, is they're the only two players in NFL history with 30 career sacks and 30 career interceptions. Nobody active is particularly close. I think if I remember correctly off the top of my head, Harrison Smith is the closest, but he's 35 years old, and I think he still has a ways to go in the sacks column. He has 20 career sacks. So he's entering his age 36 season. Is 9.5 sacks short, unless they start playing him full-time at edge rusher. And even then, 10 sack season would be impressive. Nobody's joining those guys anytime soon. All right, who should be the next Patriots Hall of Famer? So we assume Logan Mankins is going to go back on the ballot. Assume Adam Vinatieri. Rob Gronkowski was a name that was floated out there. I'm still going to say this one, and I don't think he should be next. Vinatieri should be next, and Gronk should be in over him and Mankins. There's not nearly enough conversation about Randy Moss. And I get there's other guys that need to go in first. And Moss never won a Super Bowl here, and he wasn't here that long. Look at that ovation he got when he came back for Brady's ceremony. That guy is a part of the Patriots culture and the Patriots DNA. I hope he gets a red jacket at some point. But Vinatieri should be next.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could put maybe an exhibit of some kind for Randy Moss, the ball he caught his record touchdown with. I just feel like he didn't do he wasn't here quite long enough, like you said, didn't win a Super Bowl. I know it's not really his fault, actually, because he could have had the game-winning touchdown in that 19-0, 18-1 Super Bowl. So I get it. I just feel like it was one unbelievable season and then, not much else after that. So I'm a no on Randy Moss getting the red jacket.
All right.
If you want to put a little exhibit where here's the ball he caught, I'm okay with something like that. I'm a no on Randy Moss. If anything, he needs to get in line behind all the other guys you just mentioned. If Gronkowski's on the ballot next year, you said?
I believe he's eligible.
So if he's eligible next year, it should be Gronkowski should go in
over
next.
Vinatieri.
Over Vinatieri. He's the best tight end to ever play the game. I know that Vinatieri's the best kicker ever. But I put, more weight into Gronk being that that all-time weapon, pass catcher over Vinatieri as clutch as he was as a kicker. He is still a kicker. I get it. He should be in. He probably should have been in a long time ago, but you put him up against Gronk. I'm going Gronk. And
I'll throw this out too, because people are going to be like, oh, what about Bill? Like, I think you put Bill in whenever Bill's ready to be in. And I think
put Bill in whenever Jordan's ready for Bill to be in.
I think some of that hinges on the relationship between Kraft and Bill, right? Like Bill's, you can't put Bill in if Bill's not going to come back and be there for the ceremony. I hope they wouldn't do it like that. Like that would be wrong to Bill.
Yeah.
So,
well, no, I think Bill would do it. Bill's not going to like refuse to come back. He wants to have that moment.
Yeah.
He'll be happy to do that.
I don't know if it's when he's done with UNC or whatever, but like Bill should get in next whenever Bill's ready to get in. He's at UNC. It's his first year there and all that. I wonder if he wants to do that whole dog and pony show right now.
Yeah, probably not right now. I think he's very focused on UNC, and then we'll see in 2026. Just side note, Albert Breer in his MMQB column today sort of cast doubt on Bill coming back to the NFL. Like I think initially there were thoughts that, once the buyout gets cheaper, which is in a month or so,
right.
NFL teams will, be more interested in maybe poaching him from UNC for 2026. Now with the whole Jordan Hudson experience and everything that comes with it, as Breer said, like I think teams are sort of having pause, but maybe that's just sort of the iron's a little hot right now because of what just happened over the past week or so with Bill being in the headlines. I don't think it's going to be like that for Bill every single week. Maybe it sort of calms down, and maybe UNC wins. Like if he puts together a program there and they outperform expectations, like the NFL might, the interest might be restored from the NFL.
I mean, the ACC sucks, so just by default, he should have a chance. He should, because they're and even as far as the ACC goes, they don't play most of the good ACC teams. They play Clemson, but they don't play Miami. Boston College is going to be one of the better teams of the ACC this year. They don't play them. I don't think they play Pitt. So, who else? Florida State's rebuilding. They're starting from the ground up. I know I'm missing somebody, and the people who went to that school yell at me, but like they could be decent.
Sorry, I wish I could help you there.
Any other Patriot? I know I'm just like, I actually kind of detoxed from college football in the draft this weekend.
I know,
believe
seriously.
it or not.
You had the decompressing of a lifetime last week, I imagine.
It was quite a bit of golf. Played some rain golf.
Oh, there you go.
Got out.
I don't mind rain golf if it's not too heavy.
There were like a few spurts where it was heavy, and when it was, we'd be like, all right, this is the last hole we're going to go in. And then by the time we got to the hole, we were like, we could play another one. Heavy stuff's not coming for quite a bit. So we ended up getting in 16, but what happened was we played 7, and then my buddy realized he left the top down on his car. So we had to go back to the parking lot because it had started like drizzling. And then we ended up, we had paid for 18, so we were like, hey, we need to get back out. Like, where can we get back out? So they put us back out on 10. So we played through 7. We started back up from 10. And like every couple holes, we were like, this is probably it. It's starting to rain. And then it would let up. And then this is starting to rain. And then we're coming up 18. I get one of my best shots of the day, approach shot within like 5 feet of the cup. Boom, horn, lightning warning. So we got up to the last shot, and then we played 16 and a half holes. But
condolences to your friend with the convertible.
And we got there before it got really bad. It was fine. Any final Patriots thoughts here before we wrap it up?
Like I guess people thought Vinatieri might get into the Hall of Fame this year because of Parcells going in. Like they're sort of pushing him through. For whatever reason, so they thought maybe they could induct them together. But that would have been cool. It would have been cool. Just goes back to my thought on Edelman. Like it proves that the fan vote is pretty legit. If they wanted to rig it, they could have very easily just said Vinatieri won. Yeah, congratulations to the fans. But it didn't happen.
There was something like this 2 years ago where the contributor committee had picked Scarnecchia, and then Mankins was on the ballot. And it was, well, here we go. Scarnecchia, Mankins, offensive line coach, lineman. They picked Vrabel instead, which probably worked out because Vrabel gave that speech, called the Patriots weak, pissed off ownership in Tennessee, and now he's the head coach here. So maybe that all needed to happen, and it was a good thing it did. But that was another one where it was like, it would have been cool, Scarnecchia and Mankins. There would have been some symmetry. Evan Lazard, Greg Bedard could have nerded out on all the in-depth offensive line talk for a weekend. My one last thought, and this is something that got lost in the wash leading up to the draft, and I got to readjust my computer here so I can read this. So Jonathan Jones of CBS, not the Patriots cornerback Jonathan Jones, NFL insider Jonathan Jones, reported this, I believe it was last weekend, that the NFL is going to debut what are called rivalries uniforms this season. So he says, think City Connect and City Edition like the NBA and MLB, and that they're going to debut them over the next few years, and it'll be one division at a time. So it will start with the NFC West and the AFC East. So at this point, I know people had wanted new overall Patriots uniforms. This is the first year they're eligible. At this point, my guess is that ship has sailed, because usually when you're doing new uniforms, the league wants you to do it before the draft, because they don't, you're taking all those promotional picks with the new draft pick, blah, blah, blah. You don't want him holding up a jersey he's never going to wear, right? That doesn't work. So my guess is that ship has sailed, but it sounds like they're getting a new alternate uniform, and I've heard that it's going to be something different. So what I would like it to be is the flying Elvis shoulder 90s blues. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be something totally new. My guess is we're going to get like a new helmet, like a blue helmet or a red helmet. Maybe it's that royal blue color. It'll look different, but the Patriots are going to have a new uniform this year.
It probably has to be the helmet to be like the unique design part of it, because it's not the same as like a baseball city uniform or a basketball where you got the team name and everything on the front. I've never been crazy about these city edition uniforms or like those things that they do in the other sports. Like I feel like they're mostly cheesy looking, and they always have like a weird name on like the city nickname. Like,
right, the H-Town Houston ones last night.
It would say not Boston. Like, is that what it would say from the Patriots one? Like, what would it say on the front? NEP.
I don't know. Yeah, just don't make it weird. If they make it like a normal football uniform, that's just a different take. I'm in, and I'm with this on all the alternates, across all the sports. Like, for instance, City Connect, those Angels ones, where it's like the cream white instead of the regular white, and it's a slightly different font, but like it looks like a baseball jersey. Great. Those are awesome. Though who are the ones that have like the all dark blue? It's terrible.
Oh God, it might have been like
what I'm talking
Miami
about.
Marlins or
something like that. Terrible. So like just make it look like a normal football uniform. Do you remember the 90s baseball did like the future retro whatever with the tank tops, and it had the weird logos were huge and the numbers were tiny right here. Like,
I have faith that the NFL is not going to do anything that stupid. They're not going to do anything crazy.
I hope
it's just going to be a helmet.
Nike is Nike. Remember they tried short sleeve jerseys in the NBA.
The cleats might be something.
If the cleats are weird, the cleats are weird. I don't mind if the cleats are weird. Just don't make the jersey weird.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I don't think the jerseys are going to be weird. I think it's going to be. Won't be totally traditional like we're used to seeing.
No, it's going to be one of those things where, like, instead of the logos on the sides of the helmet, there'll be some design all over the helmet. Well, the good news is it sounds like they're only wearing them a couple times. And Jonathan Jones also noted in that report that the throwbacks are not going away. So
that's good.
We'll still get the red Pat Patriot. It sounds like this is just one other thing that we'll get. So
don't get rid of that, please.
Hopefully it doesn't cut into that. That you can wear it. You can wear an alternate up to 3 times. They generally wear it twice. So hopefully this is a third game instead of taking away from one of the throwback games. And I believe the idea, and we'll see. Actually, I think the schedule releases next week, right?
Yeah. So week from Tuesday was talking to me about that.
Yeah. So
we got to plan. We got to plan our coverage.
We do.
I think it's the same night as a Celtics game. I
believe the plan for always is the plan for these rivalry jerseys is because it's within the division. Like you'll wear them against the other teams in the division. So we'll probably have a good idea of when they'll wear it when we get the schedule release. All right. Anything else?
Drake Maye talked last week, and you wrote about it at 98.
I did. Seemed happy with the offseason moves.
Yeah, just a quick thought. Sounds like they're basically starting over in terms of the offensive system. He's got to learn Josh McDaniels' terminology and all that. Not surprised. Like, I don't think Josh McDaniels had to, install Alex Van Pelt's terminology. I think that's fair. It's just a little annoying that they basically threw away his rookie year, and now they have to start from scratch. But I think, fortunately, it's Vrabel and McDaniels for now, for like the foreseeable future. Like they're going to have these guys in place for the remainder of Drake Maye's rookie contract. They're not going to, I don't think we're going to get to a point, like 7-8 months.
3 coaches in 3 years.
Guys, they got to fire McDaniels. I don't know what, he's here. He's going to be here. People can complain about him all they want. I know he's not perfect. He might have his moments where what the hell was that play call? But I think for the sake of continuity and for the sake of Drake Maye's development, please keep this in place. Just keep it in place. And you might have ups and downs. I know they probably still need more weapons. We'll see how it goes on the offensive line and all that. Still developing, but this is in place. This is the system. This is what it's going to be. And just hope for the best.
Yeah, hopefully. And I'll say this about McDaniels. He's installing his terminology, but we know that they have McDaniels in the past has kind of tailored things to his quarterback. And I believe Drake said last week that they were watching some film of the Cam Newton offense. See if I can find it.
Yeah,
right.
Because he's probably gonna install some stuff that involves Drake Maye running, I would think.
Yeah, so
at least the option, to do that.
If they're working that kind of thing in, it's a good sign, because that we talked about this. Like Iron McDaniels, like that Cam Newton offense has some stuff that would be applicable to Drake Maye. I can't find that quote. Did you see that, or am I like imagining that?
I don't think you're imagining it. I vaguely remember it. It's hard to remember a Drake Maye quote because he talks so damn fast.
He is tough to transcribe. He is one of the tougher players to transcribe. Cam was actually super easy. Cam, great delivery. So, all right. I'll find it and tweet it out. But anyway, that'll do it for this episode. If you want more, check out Patriots Hub Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to subscribe to the Sports Hub channel on YouTube. And we'll have more coverage on 98.5thesportshub.com. Until the next one, for Matt Dolloff, I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.